Hello, my name is Kurt, and today I will be talking about Mgtow and how I realized that I have always been a Mgtow. Now, I'm going to be 24 years old soon, and that might be a little bit shocking to see somebody so young in the Mgtow movement. But to be honest, I've always been a Mgtow. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to explain what Mgtow is to anybody who's new to it or is wondering what this whole Mgtow thing is. Mgtow is simply an acronym for men going their own way. Now, this could mean a lot of things. It is a very sort of personal thing, but it is also a movement, a group of individuals that group up and share similar beliefs. We strive to break the shackles restraining men, okay? All the shackles females have placed upon us, feminists, you see a lot of white knights, a lot of manginas, a lot of beta males, a lot of just freaking pussy whipped men out there today. Men with no fucking spine. Men who fawn over a girl with a pretty smile, you know? Men who are in fucking sort of top positions in companies who hire just a cute girl that has absolutely no knowledge of anything in the company just because she sucked his dick or just because she's cute. This is what I'm talking about. This is the weakness. A weakness instinctually sort of found in men, but now is the time to break the shackles because it's not as it used to be. You know, people, look back into the 40s, look back into the 50s. There was the man of the house, and then there was the woman of the house. The woman cooked, cleaned, took care of the kids, whatever. The man did business, took care of, financial matters, whatever, and everything was good. But now the roles are reversing. You have women that are, doing that stuff, and men who are taking care of the kids, and all this stuff. It's really a crazy world right now. Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily. Is it a good thing? Not necessarily. But what Mgtow, to me personally, is a strengthening path. See, I've always been a loner. I never needed friends. I never needed companionship. I did everything I fucking did in my life, I did alone. I learned how to play guitar on my own. I learned how to, do everything on my own. Every single skill that I have, every figment of my being has been forged by myself. There was nobody to tell me how to iron a shirt properly or how to dress properly. There was nobody to tell me how to tie my shoes properly. There was nobody to help me. Of course, yes, I've had, parental figures and this and that, and yes, they taught me all that stuff, of course, but what I'm saying is that I never required the assistance of anybody else. And whenever I did require it, whenever I needed somebody's fucking help in my darkest moments, you want to know the truth? The greatest of friends shared so many great times together. I was such a nice guy to them. Where were they in my fucking darkest hour when I called them? Nowhere to be found. And this is where you see the true face of people. When you're in your darkest fucking times, you will see who is genuine and who is full of shit. You will see that you are truly fucking alone. You'll be walking around the street with not even $1 in your fucking pocket, wondering all those times, you bought alcohol for these guys, or, gave them rides here, or hooked them up with girls at this party and that party, and even lended them money that they never gave you back, or even, bought them shit, they didn't have gas money. Oh, here, have $20, don't worry about it, bro, you're my friend, it's all good. But when I needed that fucking $20, there was nobody to be found. Because I was a nice guy. And I still am a nice guy. But I have a fucking spine. okay? I'm not afraid to shun a beautiful girl with a beautiful smile. I don't give a fuck. I don't fall to those weaknesses anymore. Because I know that if there is no substance in there, then it's not worth it. I respect everybody equally, no matter what gender you are, male, female, no matter what ethnicity you are. If you show me that you are a respectable person, that you have sort of a backbone, that you are an admirable person, and that I genuinely enjoy your presence, we'll get along, you know? But I'm not going to base that solely off of, minute things like that, you know? Like, oh, that girl's hot, so I'm instantly gonna drop everything just to talk to her. No. Sorry, honey. Don't work that way anymore. When I go to the bar, I buy my own fucking drinks. And if there's a, good looking girl over there, I let all the other chumps buy her drinks. All the white knights and the betas. And you know what? I watch and I observe. I'm a very good, sort of detective, It's pretty funny watching all these things because I was in that place before. I used to go to bars. I used to dish out money for drinks, trying to, hold conversations with these females, and it went good. Most of the time, it ended up in a one-night stand. Most of the time, it ended up in sort of a short-term sort of relationship. I'm not saying that it didn't have its ups, but in the end, I noticed the futility of it. I noticed a very interesting repeating pattern from a very young age, and this is another part of the Mgtow. Ever since I started sort of dating, around like 15, 16 or so, I would start dating all these girls all up into my 18 years, whatever. I'm like, oh, I thought that was like the sort of unexperienced teenage sort of dating phase, and it's expected for the women, well, the girls, to be immature and sort of like psychotic in some aspects, to be honest. I thought it was expected. I thought, oh yeah, when I grow older, I'll find higher quality women. They'll mature. I'll find more mature people that act their own age, stuff like that. Fast forward to my 20s, 21, 22, 23, dating various women from 18 to 22 to 23, even older women around their 30s. And it's the same intrinsic fucking trend. I'm not saying there's no good females out there. By any means, I do have hope. I'm certain that there are, and I'm still young, so I do have plenty of years and opportunities to experience the company of pleasant women. But from my experiences in my life, there's always been this reoccurring pattern. The demon and the beast always rears its ugly ass fucking head. You could be with a girl, she'll promise you heaven, and she'll give you hell. Most of the time it works out like that. You could be dating for a year, everything's good. 2 years, things start waning a little bit. 3 years, etc. The more time that passes, the more the beast rears its head. And it depends on the female. Sometimes the beast rears its head in a week. That way you should fucking run. But a lot of men are oblivious to these signs. But the beast always rears its head. You start losing money, you might lose a job, you might lose your status, you might lose favor with their friends, and all of a sudden they don't like you anymore. They're interested in somebody else. They're interested in the next guy. They're interested in somebody who has more to offer them. I see this happening a lot. Women in their, from 18 to, their late 20s, dating these sort of stoner, artistic, liberal, pretty much unaccomplished slackers that have nothing going for them. and they're pounding that girl every night, but on the side, these girls have either a 40 or 50-year-old man that's also, plowing them and giving them money, or is just their sugar daddy and stuff like that, or even their boss. I've seen this happen way too many times. It really saddens me deeply, but I've seen this happen personally before. This guy that I knew was dating this girl, and he was working a pretty decent job, around $15 an hour or so. Pretty good. But there was something strange. This girl had a job in sort of not necessarily a higher end company. She was just like sort of a receptionist or whatever at some sort of company. Right off the bat, to me, that sounded sort of fishy. I'm like, dude, you should really go visit her job once in a while and see how she interacts with people there. See how she interacts with her coworkers. See how she interacts with the boss primarily. He's like, no, it's all good. Whatever, she's bringing home the money. She seems happy. She seems this. Everything's good. Fast forward the story a little bit. They got engaged. They were planning all these things. And then one day, the news broke. This dude found out that she was plowing the boss. All those times she sent him texts like, oh, I'm at a meeting, I'm going to be home later. Or, oh, every time she came home late, he would ask her, or even if she didn't come home late, even during the normal work shifts, he didn't see it. But he saw it when it was too late. He saw it when it was too late. And I said, dude, I told you. What the fuck did you expect? You're a dude making chump change, okay? She's working here. She's trying to escalate as high as she possibly can in the company. So she's gonna have to suck up to the boss, first of all. Second of all, that boss of that company is obviously a higher status and just essentially a better male in her eyes than you are. The guy's fucking loaded. He drives a Mercedes. Like you drive a fucking broken down 95 Subaru. See what I'm getting at here? It's very crazy that these things occur, but I saw with my very own eyes, and I went through various experiences in my own life. And another thing that is a personal belief of mine is that trust can be a weakness. You can't really trust anybody in this fucking world. You can't even trust yourself most of the time. I can't even trust the thoughts that run through my head most of the time. Because if I did trust them, who knows what would occur, Who the fuck knows? So you can't even trust yourself most of the time. So how the fuck are you going to put a trust in a separate sort of entity? It's easier to trust an animal, because when a wolf is hungry, he's going to lunge at you and rip out your throat and eat you alive, because it's a wolf. It's an animal instinct. But here's what differentiates animals and humans, and how humans are more vicious than animals. A human can have food, they can have everything, and they'll do the same thing that wolf will do, They'll rip your fucking throat out. They'll backstab you in the worst fucking way. For no reason. It's not a survival thing. It's not an animalistic thing. They just do it to do it. I'll give you an example. This is probably an interesting example, but you could learn a lot from this example. So bear with me, okay? It's going to sound a little crazy, but as I've said, you could learn a lot from this example. There's a serial killer. He was affiliated with the mafia. His name was Iceman. That was his nickname. His last name was Kuklinski, right? operated not far from where I'm located. So, what example do I have for you? A mafia serial killer, a paid hitman with no remorse, with hundreds of people that he killed mercilessly, had a family he went home to at night, slept fine, had no guilt, no conscience, no remorse, no nothing. But his one weakness was trust. He probably trusted his fellow mafia mates, and an undercover police officer somehow got into his mafia clique, and Iceman spilled the beans to this undercover police officer who happened to be recording at the time. And he said, yeah, I whacked this many people. Their bodies are decaying in these metal bins. One's in Manhattan Park, the other one's in the Hudson River, this and that. You know, he said it with ease because he thought that person was his friend. He trusted that person. Because of that mistake, it was a fatal mistake. They caught him, he got arrested, on death row, and he was a goner. If he hadn't trusted anybody, he would still be operating in his endeavors. Now, like I said, that's a very crazy example. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the Mgtow idea is that you cannot let anybody or anything stop you. You as a man build your own fucking empire. You do not let any woman take that from you. You do not let anybody take that from you. It's yours. You built it. You strive for it. You make yourself a better man every single fucking day. You know? You don't care about what anybody else says. You're a man going your own way. You know? People will be like, oh, you're 24. You have a sufficient income. You seem to be very well off. You're very charming. You're educated. You speak very interestingly. You know, you use very complex words and phrases, and you have a sense of humor and all these things. But what's wrong with you? Are you gay? Is something wrong with you? Why don't you have a girl? Why don't you have a girlfriend? Why aren't you married yet? Or why aren't you striving for that? And this is the societal manipulation I am talking about. It is expected. It is forced upon us. If you don't have a girlfriend, or if you don't have a mate, or anything like that, there's something wrong with you. And this has always been the case. But I'll tell you what, some of the greatest males that ever existed were celibate. Tesla, Isaac Newton, all these people were pretty much hermits and celibate people. They shunned the companionship of females. And I believe one of them wrote something along these lines. I forget the exact quote, but it was like, women are vampiric succubuses that drain every ounce of creativity and power out of a man and leave him in the dust while they feed upon that and use that for absolutely nothing. Whereas a man could use that power to create and build. You look at all ancient history, the greatest civilizations known to fucking man. What was their downfall? A woman, in one way or another. Like I said, I'm not hating on women. I'm just pointing these things out. Men are very blinded by the charm of females. And this is the downfall. This has always been the downfall. It's time to transcend that. See? If you're a Mgtow, and you have that position of power, you're fucking unstoppable. Like I said, if I was like the ruler of a civilization or empire, whatever, nothing would get in the fucking way of my power, so to speak. No fucking way. I wouldn't even associate myself with anybody. You know why? Because most of the time, the enemies in other civilizations or other empires, you always have enemies, you know. Your enemies are most often your truest friends, you know. But your enemies always sort of do this sort of thing where they send the woman your way, you know, sort of like a spy sort of situation. They send a beautiful woman to you, and you having all this power and all this confidence and all this ego, you'd be like, sure, I'll mess around with her. What harm will come about? But you don't know. That woman could put poison in your tea. That woman could slit your throat while you're sleeping. There's many things that could occur. This is why nobody could be trusted. Ever. Okay? And you may say, oh, Kurt, you must have massive trust issues. I don't call them issues. They're not like daddy issues or something along those lines where it becomes an impediment, where it becomes a psychological sort of psychosis. My lack of trust is from personal experiences, and other people may call it issues, but to me it is a strength. What other people call issues, I call strength. You know, people could say, oh, Kurt, you don't trust me, you have trust issues, whatever. No, I don't fucking trust you. I'm sorry, I never will, you know? Because I know that if we were on a fucking sinking ship, you'd run for your life, and you'd leave me in the dust. Not saying that's every human being out there, but like I said, you must be careful. You must be careful with your trust, admiration, and respect among fellow human beings, because there's plenty of people that don't deserve respect and get respect. There's many people that don't deserve trust and get trust. You can only rely on yourself. It's all you have. Honestly speaking, you're your own being. You know, every other thing is foreign to you. It's a separate object. It is unattached. You know, you could have a beautiful intimate bond with a female or whatever, but always know that she's a separate being. She's a separate human being. She's a separate entity. She doesn't have the same mind. You don't know what she's feeling. You don't know any of this. It's a separate thing, you know. It is not a part of you, okay? And this is what you have to be careful about, because these are false ties, you know. You fall victim to the chemical cocktail that is raging in your brain while you're chatting with this woman or sleeping with this woman or whatever, but that is fuel for your demise, my friend. Honestly speaking, most of the time. I've seen a lot of good men in good positions, very well off in life, lose everything because of one female. It's really heartbreaking to me. It really is. This is why I urge all those who are watching, whether you're young men or older men or already in the Mgtow movement, continue. Build upon your own strength and realize that you're alone on your path, and only you could walk your path. And make sure nobody stands in your way as an obstacle. People could follow you, but they might fall off